Hey everybody, it's Kennedy Hawk from the MCM team, and I am so excited about the new Nova Hero Pack announcement that's coming out after Sinister Motives, hopefully April, May, June timeframe, somewhere in there. It's kind of ambiguous in the article. Either way, if you haven't read this article yet, jump to the FFG homepage, click on the article link, and read all about Nova. But I'm going to go over all the cards they announced today, at least all the player cards, and talk about why Sam Alexander is one of my favorite Marvel comic characters. So Sam Alexander is a pretty new character in Marvel Comics relatively. He's a member of the Champions, which is the team Miss Marvel's on, and he is a super fun character. His dad was a former Nova Corps member, and he inherits his dad's helmet and becomes the new Nova while Richard Rider is not present on Earth or in space in comics in general in that period of time. He's spunky, he's young, he's learning how to be a hero, and it's exactly the types of stories that I loved reading growing up. Now that I have kids, my kids love Sam Alexander as one of their favorite characters. He was on one of the little Spider-Man TV shows. They loved him there. They love reading his books. They love reading children's books on him, and I'm so excited for him to come out so that they can play as Nova in Marvel Champions. So let's dive into his cards and start looking through why I think he's going to be an awesome hero, if not maybe one of the standout heroes of this cycle. So, this is the Nova Hero Pack. It was just announced. Sam Alexander is awesome. I could talk to you for hours about how awesome he is and how much I love his stories, but we won't do that today. We'll look mainly at the cards. Let's look at his two identity cards. So in Sam Alexander form, he's got a hand size of 6 and hit points of 10. That's good. We're not starting at a hand size of 5 in Alter Ego. That is a good start. Alter Ego action. Spend one resource of any type. Search your deck and discard pile for Supernova Helmet. Add it to your hand. Put it into play instead if you paid for this ability using a wild resource. Recovery of 3. Pretty standard. He's going to go get some setup item, but you can kind of get a discount and put it right into play instead of having to pay for it to go find it and then pay for it to play it again. So we'll have to look at what the helmet is, and we'll see that it really is the signature piece of his character. In hero form, he has a hand size of 5 and still 10 hit points, obviously. 1 thwart, 1 attack, and 2 defense. Kind of low stats, so what are you going to do with all that? Response. After you use one of Nova's basic powers, thwart, attack, or defense, ready Supernova Helmet. I love this. So his stats aren't very strong, but you're going to get some other bonus for using them. So it's not like Miss Marvel where your stats aren't very strong, so you almost never use them because you'd rather just always bounce events. Here, your stats aren't very strong, but you're still encouraged and incentivized to use them. And he's a readying Supernova Helmet hero, so we'll see what that's all about. But first, let's look at the Supernova Helmet itself. So Supernova Helmet is a 1-cost upgrade. It has the armor trait. Nova gains the aerial trait, so cool. Hero resource, exhaust Supernova Helmet to generate a wild resource. Now I know people are sick of wild resource generators, but I'm telling you, this one is different. It's cool that it can work on anything. It might seem like a little creepy and power creepy and a little, generic, right? Everybody hates when there's all these wild resource generators, but based on his alter ego action, we can see Sam is going to be all about wild resources, which will be really, really cool. And you can use this resource generator twice per turn by using Nova's ability. So it's a 1 cost for 2 resources for the rest of the game that you can start with in play. Now people talk about how good Venom is and how he has resource generation built in. He has to take a damage to get his resource. Nova just gets it for free. So he has Venom's ability, but almost slightly better. It is susceptible to caught off guard, so there's a little bit of balancing and things like that. But I think it's going to be a really, really strong ability to be able to fish up a wild resource generator that you could use twice per round without any setup right away. I'm super excited, so let's see what we can do with this Supernova Helmet by looking at his playstyle. So, what kind of playstyle does he have? Like I said, he's going to be all about wild resources. It looks like he's going to be a combination of event spamming, kind of like the Miss Marvel hero was, but also with using his stats to produce those resources so that he can afford to spam events. So he's got 2 events right here, Light Speed, Flight, and Pot Shot, and they feel very similar to those Miss Marvel events that are just pay resources to do damage, pay resources to do threat. But they have a cool new ability that really brings his kit together. So they both have the text, double the number of wild resources generated when paying for this card. So if you use Supernova Helmets to pay for Light Speed Flight, it now counts as 2 resources. You can then exhaust Sam, use Supernova Helmet again for Pot Shot, and it generates another 2 resources. Supernova Helmet just paid 4 resources, and it started in play. This is amazing. It's probably going to be one of the strongest combos in the game with the cheapest setup and the most consistent setup you can have. I mean, it could be Ultron droned or whatever, but it's going to be super fun. So they are a little bit low on, the the ratioing, right? 2 for 3 thwarts. I mean, that's pretty typical, right? 2 for 4 damage. Again, it's better than Haymaker, but it's not like anything crazy. But at the same time, you can play this for so cheap. Typically, it's going to be 2 for 1 card, or 2 for exhausting your helmet, or 4 for exhausting your helmet, excuse me. So it's going to be really, really good. On top of that, I talked about event spamming. His signature ally is Miss Marvel Kamala Khan. She has 1 thwart, 1 attack, 3 cost, and 3 health. Hero response. After you play an event, exhaust Miss Marvel and deal 1 damage to her. Return that event to your hand. So you're going to be able to bounce events back to your hands 3 times, just like with Miss Marvel's signature ability. So if you're trying to like set up some combo, we're going to talk about a combo here in a minute using pot shot, and you're like, oh, I really need to draw 2 pot shots in my opening hand. Well, you can draw 2 pot shots or a pot shot into Miss Marvel and bounce that pot shot and play it twice, which is going to be super strong and super cool. All right, we have more events. There are more events going on here that are going to make this even better. We have a copy of a card called Unleash Nova Force. It says max 1 per round. Now, that could be to prevent you like cycling it in your deck and playing it multiple times. I'm hopeful that means there's 2 of them, which would be great. Until the end of the round, each time Nova defeats an enemy or removes the last threat from a scheme, ready Nova and draw 1 card. There's no limit on that. There's no exhaust Nova Force on that, or unleash Nova Force on that. Like, you could trigger this multiple times and get multiple card draws, multiple readies out of Nova, and then multiple uses out of his helmet. His kit is super succinct and does everything you need it to do. We haven't seen any stunning or confusing from it, and that's probably okay with how strong it is. We also get a signature resource, Connection to the World Mine. It does not count towards your hand size. So I'm assuming that means if I draw my opening hand and I'm drawing up to 6 and I see a Connection to the World Mine in there, I really draw to 7. That's an amazing ability on a resource, especially if there's more than one of these. You're going to be drawing a ton of extra cards just from that, on top of cards you draw from Unleash Nova Force. So this is a combo hero. People love Quicksilver. I am not like the biggest Quicksilver fan. I can see how he's fun. But to me, this looks like the kind of Quicksilver that I am going to love to play. I don't get like all these permanent buffs on the board, but I can get lots of comboing and card drawing craziness going on. So let's just talk through a combo. We're going to talk through a hypothetical combo using just cards from Sam Alexander's kit. We're going to pretend we're playing 4-player mutagen formula. So there's 4 Goblin Thralls out there, and you're the first player. And everybody's like, oh, I hate the number of minions in mutagen formula. But as Sam Alexander, you're just like, oh, this is going to be an awesome video game. I can't wait. So your starting hand, let's assume that we drew Unleash Nova Force, Pot Shot, or 2 Pot Shots, and Connection to the World Mine. You could, like I said, replace one of those pot shots with the Miss Marvel, but for now, we're going to assume that we drew those 7 cards. And we're at 7 cards because Connection to the World Mine does not count against your hand size. So I am assuming that there's 2 pot shots here. Again, you could replace that with Miss Marvel. This is our starting setup. So what are we going to do? As Sam Alexander, we're going to use Connection to the World Mine with our Alter Ego ability to go fish out our Supernova helmet and put it into play. So since you spent this as a wild, you get to put that helmet into play right away. We're going to do my favorite thing in Marvel Champions, and we're going to flip to hero form. So we are Nova in hero form. And we're going to use that helmet, the Supernova helmet, to play Unleash Nova Force, which is max 1 per round. Until the end of the round, each time Nova defeats an enemy or removes the last threat from a scheme, ready Nova and draw a card. We're going to swing for 1 into this first Goblin Thrall with Nova's wimpy 1 attack stat. But it's okay. It'll add up over time. Since we used a basic stat, again, there's no limit on the response on Nova's Hero's ability. So we get to ready the helmet because we swung for 1. So we can use that helmet to play one of those potshot cards from our hand and defeat the second Goblin Thrall. So at this point, we started at 7 cards, we played our helmet, and then we played Unleash Nova Force, so we're down to 4 cards. Now we played Potshot, so we're down to 5. Now we played Potshot, so we're down to 4. We're down to 4 cards in our hand. But because of Unleash Nova Force, we're going to ready Nova and draw a card and jump back up to 5 cards. So at this point, we've got 1 damage on 1 Thrall. We've defeated the other one with a little bit of excess waste. All right, so we're going to go through and do it again. We're going to swing into that first Goblin Thrall again. Our helmet's exhausted, so we can ready it now because we used a base stat again. We can use that helmet to play the second pot shot, bringing us from 5 back down to 4 cards. But look, we defeated another minion, so we get to draw 1 card and ready Nova again, bringing us back up to 5 cards. 2 minions dead, 1 at 2 damage. So now we can swing into that third minion, ready our helmet, draw a card, and ready our hero. So we're now up to 6 cards. We have a ready hero, we have Unleash Nova Force in play, we have Supernova Helmet in play, and we've defeated 3 minions. And, like I said, we got 6 cards in our hand. So now what do? You got 6 cards in your hand, you have a Goblin Thrall that you have to take care of, which is going to get you another ready, and another card draw, and another use of your helmet, you can just go bazonkers with just having those 4 cards and 3 of anything in hand. Like I said, those 3 could be used to play Miss Marvel, and then you could use Miss Marvel to do shenanigans too. There's just a ton of awesome comboing, and I can totally see many situations where Nova just wipes and clears the board. He's going to wipe the floor with minion heavy and side scheme heavy scenarios. So what are some things that I think are going to work well with Nova? Like I said, people really like Quicksilver. Friction resistance is something people talk about in Discord all the time as being like their favorite resource generator. Unleashed Nova Force combined with Supernova Helmet is basically the same thing, but maybe even better. Like, I like it better. It does depend on there being things on the board, but at the same time, to me, that's balanced. It gives me the oomph I need when there's trouble on the board, but I'm not just sitting here and, like, getting to do a million things without having any danger. So I really like that. I'm super excited to try it out. He's obviously going to work really well with anybody that can do stat buffs, right? So Civic Duty and Adrenaline Rush, being able to get +1 until the end of the phase. If you can make all those 1 damage pings we just went through into 2 damage pings, you've probably killed both of the Thrall minions at this point. Same thing for Civic Duty with side schemes. You can imagine one way or another is just going to go crazy with Nova because you're going to bring the side schemes out, you're going to wipe them out and draw a ton of cards. Moxie, it's got Nova's art on it. I think now we finally know why. This is like perfect for him, right? Just pump all your stats by 1, play Unleash Nova Force, and go wild. Combat training, heroic intuition. You can even do some tricky shenanigans with this in the villain phase, right? So after you use one of your basic attacks, you ready the helmet. So you could, never back down and stun the villain by defending, and then ready your helmet. And then if you counterpunch and defeats, like I don't know how that would work. I guess you'd have to like sidestep and defeat a minion with the sidestep. Then you could ready Nova, get to use his defense again, ready the helmet again. It could just be crazy shenanigans. I haven't put a lot of work into the protection build of this because, green cards are gross. But I'm super excited for all the aspects with it, but mainly for leadership and aggression. I think he's going to be super, super fun in leadership and aggression. Obviously, he depends on wild resources, so you're going to want to get wild with the resources you put in. And we've only seen 2 of his cards that sort of double the effect of the wild resources that he plays, but I'm hopeful that there's a few more in his kit. This is going to be really good with things like Band Together. People say that Band Together is kind of, a setback until you get 2 or 3 allies out. But now, even with 1 ally, a lot of Nova's cards, it seems like this is going to be worth 2 resources, which is pretty crazy. Now, I don't know if this can actually generate like 6 resources if there was some 6 resource card that Nova has because of that maximum, but I still think it's pretty good. I think Resourceful is going to be great. I think Power of cards are going to be staples in his because you were going to want to cram those wilds in there so that you can make sure you get that helmet and you get it for the discount on play the first turn, which is going to be super cool. Really excited. So he's coming with an aggression pre-built kit. Now that I'm done fanboying over all the Nova stuff we just found out. So we'll go over the aggression and basic cards that they've revealed so far. So we have the Locust. She's a 2-cost, 2 health ally with 1 thwart for double consequential, 1 attack. Play only if your identity has the champion trait. I love this. I like that we're getting more trait locked things. I think that that's what's needed to keep allies in check. I hope that they release a ton more for each trait, though, so that deck building doesn't become, I have a champion, here's all my champion allies. Hero response. After the Locust enters play, add 1 aggression red event for your discard pile to your hand. That's awesome. That's like Maria Hill, but picking the card you draw towards the end of your deck. I'm totally okay with this, and I love it. It is pretty great. Fluid Motion is an upgrade. Hero response. After you play an attack event, exhaust this card. Your hero gets +1 attack until the end of the phase. Max 1 per attack event. So you could get 3 of these in play, but you couldn't exhaust all of them for 1 attack event. But in the example we just talked about, if you got this into play and you played Pot Shot, you could give yourself +1. If you got another one into play and played a second Pot Shot, you could get another +1. So I can imagine this working really, really well with Sam Alexander Nova. We have another new resource type, Everyday Hero, another wild. Great for Sam. While your identity has the civilian trait, this card can be spent for any player, so kind of like an inverse alliance card, and gains the text response. After you spend this card for a player, heal 1 damage from that player's identity. This is super cool and super thematic for what a hero would be doing in civilian form. So I am a big fan of this card. We're going to have to look through and see who has the civilian trait that this can combo with, but I'm hopeful that we get more trait-locked resources like this. All the things people have been begging for, trait-locked resources, more unique resource generator, combos within their decks, they're all coming to fruition in this pack. So this is really cool. 3 aggression events were revealed. One is called 1 by 1. Hero attack. Deal 2 damage to an enemy. If this attack defeats that enemy, deal 2 damage to an enemy. So this is a great Ultron Tech card for aggression. You're basically getting 4 damage for the cost of 1, and you get to spread it around. You have to defeat something in the middle. Obviously really good for Sam. Really good for Wasp. Probably really good for Miss Marvel with Embiggen, right? Deal 4 damage and deal 4 damage. That seems pretty legit. We've got another event, Pitchback. Play only if your identity has the aerial trait. I'm glad we're getting more aerial cards, and I actually like this better than the other aerial cards we got because it's cheaper and like they're not taxing you so much for this aerial trait card. Hero response. After your hero attacks, deal 4 damage to an enemy. I mean, this is perfect for aggression. I mean, it is pretty boring. It's just deal damage for dealing damage sake. But at the same time, efficient damage with the aerial trait. Everything about this seems pretty solid to me. I mean, it's cheap damage. Works well with aerial people. I'm pretty happy. We've got no quarter with the requirement physical trait. Hero action. Deal 4 damage to an enemy. For each point of excess damage dealt to that enemy by this attack, discard the top card of your deck and add each aggression red card discarded this way to your hand. I love this. So requirement means when you play this card, you have to pay at least 1 physical. If you exhausted 2 helicarriers, you're just out of luck. You're going to have to pay a physical resource to get this card off, so you can't make it free. But at the same time, like, this is going to be really good for encouraging people to not always include all of those basic staples. Not everybody needs Nick Fury, Ironheart, Mockingbird, 3 generic resources, Avengers Mansion, Endurance Downtime Crew Quarters. All of a sudden you have 10 basic cards in your deck. Well, if you instead include like 22 aggression cards and then maybe 3 generic resources from basic, this is going to trigger a lot more. And it's going to be super awesome. So this is, again, great Ultron tech for like just flooding your hand with cards. All the things aggression really needed, like card draw, showing up here in this event. So I'm super stoked for the Nova pack. That's all I have to talk about for it today. I hope you go check it out. Pre-order it from FFG or your local game store because I am floored with this hero, and if the rest of the heroes in this wave are as exciting as Nova is to me, it's probably going to be my favorite wave of Marvel Champions of all time. So we'll find out next month, hopefully, when they reveal, whatever is next after Nova. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great day.